people want to learn from people who they want to become. I started something, it eventually led me to a lot of places. It has to happen by you talking about your product in a non-advertising way. Every internet company founder has to be on LinkedIn. If he is not, then I doubt the existence of his company being an internet first company.
Hi, my name is Avi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a streetcar racer turned hotelier, then marketer and founder of Internet Moguls.
What up, Internet Moguls?
So Vaibhav, you know what? We have a format that we start. We talk about this hero introduction a lot. So I'll start the hero introduction in my style, and then we'll ask us to give us yours. We'll start with a Q&A and take it from there.
Done.
So my name is Avi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, streetcar racer turned hotelier, now social media marketer and founder of Internet Moguls. Vaibhav, what is your hero introduction?
Okay, my name is Vaibhav, a father to 1 dog, single, happily single, run a startup called as Growth School, started as a marketer, right now founder.
Awesome. Vaibhav, I remember the first time we spoke was, I think COVID had hit and I was wearing my tracksuit, sitting at home, not knowing exactly what we are all doing. And I think, and I got a call from you and we just started talking and we had some common friend, I think Deepak from London. And so we just started connecting and you told me a lot of things about LinkedIn and, some of those hacks, and you also checked out my profile and gave me a lot of things with that. From there to now becoming the person, the LinkedIn man in the country. So, what my first question to you is, whenever you enter a market as a brand, as a company, do you think it should be a deliberate strategy to master one profile, say yours is LinkedIn, and then now you're doing 20 other things, but you go in with one strength so that people recognize you for that and then you expand? Or can you go as a generalist? What are your views on that?
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like, I never had a plan of doing what I'm doing today, right? The intention was never to start with LinkedIn. The intention of LinkedIn was also not there, to be very frank.
Okay.
Right? It was all consequential for me. COVID happened, I got bored, I had to do something, so I did LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, I realized there is a very open market of teaching, which is pretty screwed up right now in the country and also in the world. I felt getting the right people together. The reason, the way it works actually for me is, for me at least in this journey, right, the way it has been is a lot of things I figured out or became more clearer as I started to do things, right? Like the first thing that I did 3 years back was to start a LinkedIn course, right? I started to only sell that to the international audiences. Never sold to India, still sell it at $1,500 to the international audiences, $1,400, right? All organically. Thought India doesn't pay. India as a market doesn't pay. It's not worth it. People don't value content. People don't value a lot of things. That I was wrong with a lot of things, right? And then Deepak, who is also a common friend, Kanak Raju, literally said, dude, do one webinar for my audience. Do one webinar. Literally convinced me to do a webinar for his audience. And a lot of people wanted to take that program. Obviously, they cannot pay $1,300-$1,400. So we had a discounted price, but there was a massive volume that came in. And that made me realize that India as a market does buy, right? You just have to explain them the value of things and what they're going to get out of it, because we're very outcome oriented, right? Which made a lot of sense. And that is how I am as a person, because I'm an Indian too, right? Like I come from that same thinking process. And then when I started to do LinkedIn workshop, I realized, when I started to think through it, saying, why are thousands of people joining my workshop every month? And that too by paying, coming from a market which I never thought will pay, right? Now, LinkedIn workshop is taken till date it runs, right? Every month with 700 to 800 people joining on a monthly basis, right? When I asked myself, why is this happening? I went on to research to understand, boss, why are you even buying my program, right? There are 100 other people selling you LinkedIn. Why is buying from me? Then this thing that came out very clear was, people want to learn from people who they want to become, right? They looked into me and said, this guy has not done anything in life, not from an IIT, not from a fancy college, but has achieved something on LinkedIn. And I am like him. They empathize. I'm not a big founder. I'm not like a big personal brand to have a lot of following, right? A Kunal Shah coming and teaching won't make sense, but though he has Kunal Shah. They saw that they can become like me. So that worked really well. And I said, boss, this is actually applicable in a lot of other places, right? A guy who works in a company that you aspire to also kind of has gone through a cycle, right? So that is when
Sure.
the idea of growth school kind of originated, where I said, how can I get the best people who are working at Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, WhatsApp, to come and teach the skills that they operate at on a daily basis, so that people can get a download of their lives and they learn from people who they want to become, right? So for me, if you ask me if there is a way to, there is no prediction here, right? I didn't think that, hey, I will start doing growth school first, or
Okay.
I didn't say I will start LinkedIn first. I started something, it eventually led me to a lot of places. So when I'm sorry if I dragged it too much, but
No, not at all.
my answer here is, it doesn't matter, at least for me, as long as you have an intent to not give up and keep trying, you'll figure your way out. Because if the idea is that if there's a template that one can follow, then
I know.
everybody will follow that template and will
Right.
make it to where it is, right? Like, if I had to do this all over again, I don't think there's a better way to do this.
I love that. I love the closing. If I have to do it all over again, I don't know if there's a better way to do it. But it has to be like that. And thank you for giving it, straight up, because a lot of people think, sir, wo secret formula mere ko bata do. What's that secret formula? Wo de do mere ko. So there is no secret formula. You keep trying. Day before yesterday, we had one of our teachers, Trevor, from the UK, and he was teaching a subject over here. And one of the things he said, when people do give you a blueprint, A, B, C, D, he said, you must realize that person has gone from A to Z to F to Q to whatever to find his next B. And then so when he gives you so that's how a blueprint is created and in the first place. And even though you have the blueprint, you'll take your own time, sweet time, to be able to find your own.
Blueprint doesn't give you the success, right? Execution of the blueprint does. A lot of people confuse between these two things, right? Like, because, I mean, like I said, if it was as easy as following ABC or step 1, step 2, step 3, like, this will increase your chances. That's my way of going about it. So
Got it. So I have a few questions from people over here. So Ajay Singh says, I have a digital marketing agency. Any strategies on how to market people of different kind of audiences on LinkedIn?
Yeah, if you're running a digital marketing agency, I don't think there is a better place to get clients than that of LinkedIn, because whoever you as a target prospects, until you're targeting offline stores, which was always offline and never was online, every internet company founder has to be on LinkedIn. If he is not, then I'll doubt the existence of his company being an internet first company, right? And digital marketing is something that you do for an internet first company, right? Which has an internet layer of it, right? So obviously founders are all there. There are things that you should create, right? In the end, as a creator on any platform, if you're trying to generate inbound leads or inbound clients through a platform, it has to happen by you talking about your product in a non-advertising way, right?
Right.
The way you go about it is you talk about a case study, but in form of a story. We're not saying come join my link or come buy my thing, right? You just put the story out. They figure it out to come find you. And inbound process is always harder because it takes you time to set that process up. It takes you time for people to listen to you. But on an outbound level, it's as simple as finding a sales navigator, putting up filters of the kind of people you want, and start DMing them, right? It's as simple as that. Like, yes, there are ways to automate it, and those are the like the deep stuff that we kind of end up teaching in the main programs. But fundamentally, it's actually very logically, it's very simple, that you find the right kind of people and start hitting them up. And as long as you've done some work for people like them, and there is some case studies out there, it will work. I mean, the same strategy kind of follows up everywhere else.
So you find them in the search and just hit them up one-on-one?
Yeah. I mean, if outbound is your way to go, then yes.
What about the second question is, what is your view on LinkedIn ads versus when somebody's setting up a budget with Google, Facebook, and everything? What about LinkedIn ads to get in touch with these kind of people?
Yeah, LinkedIn ads is actually incredibly powerful. We are 30% of ad budget, which is decent sized, I must say, today, as is going to LinkedIn, and we are trying to divert more and more ad budgets to LinkedIn. Here's the thing. For you to be able to run LinkedIn ads properly, okay, before even I go there, right? The reason why LinkedIn ads is more powerful is because it's much more niche, right? That is, you can literally target, like you can have this targeting. You know what? I want people who are founders of companies with more than 25 employees, which is in the category of hospitality, right? Like I can go much more granular, which is impossible on any other social network, right? The quality of leads is always 10 times better. You just getting a lead from LinkedIn just makes it better because of how because of how many people have a LinkedIn and how many people are active on LinkedIn, right? If somebody is active on LinkedIn, then he's obviously a much more high quality user than that of Instagram or Facebook for that matter. Now, because it comes with such high quality leads, it is expensive because it has limited audience, unlike Facebook, right? So a cost per lead on Facebook for us is about, let's say, 100 rupees. LinkedIn is usually 350 to 400 rupees, right? A lead, right? Like let's say you're running a funnel on webinar. Your webinar cost per registration could be 50 rupees on Facebook. That would be like 250 rupees on LinkedIn, right? So if you don't have a clarity on lifetime value of your customer,
right,
it's not going to work for you. As long as you have a LTV in India, I'm talking about India as a market, of at least $300-400, then you can use LinkedIn. If you're trying to sell a $100 product or something like that, then LinkedIn is not going to work for you. LTV is very important, but it's extremely powerful, heavily under-tapped and underused.
Even now. Wow, nice to know that.
In India, yes.
Awesome. So next question we have from these were Ajay's questions. Next we have from Amit, which is once I have a contact detail and I know exactly who are the people I need to hit up on LinkedIn, is there a specific strategy you would suggest on how to reach out to them?
If you have the contact, you mean like an email or?
No, if I've understood on LinkedIn, like I need to reach out to this particular person. Is
Yeah,
there a specific?
Yeah, the process is very simple. Keep it really real and non-salesy. Santosh Kumar, a script would help. Santosh, I don't have a script to give it to you right now. And also never rely on scripts. Scripts are optimized for that specific person. For example, just because you said script, in my LinkedIn workshop, I showed them an example of a LinkedIn invitation message that I used to send back in the day, right? Today, obviously 70,000 people have taken that workshop, and God knows how many people have pirated it right now, right? So, because of that, there are memes about that specific LinkedIn invitation that nobody knows where it originated from. I know it originated from my workshop because it was my message, which says, hey, like, it starts like that. It's little copy paste that people have done, right? Literal copy paste. Every 5 invitations out of 1 that I get is that too. Because
amazing. उसमें नीचे वैभव भी दिख रहा, हटाना भूल गए होंगे कुछ लोग.
that a few people have done with ads, where they're just to like copy paste but remove my name and like remove my creators' names and all that crap has happened. But that's essentially why scripts should not be used, right? Like you have to understand what it is, understand the framework and build yours, right? That's the only way you're going to stand out. Take learnings, but don't literally copy paste, at least with scripts. But with that being said, right, the flow usually is you start. One fundamental thing that you have to think about is you have to make it as personalized as you can, right? Because LinkedIn also has a lot of people, and a lot of people are getting a lot of invitations. And if you think that one person is potentially your customer, all your competition also thinks that he's your customer. So everybody is chasing the same person, right? So for example, I have 15,000 pending invitations right now on my LinkedIn. I don't even know who sends me because I stopped looking at it completely. Whenever I skim through it, the only thing that gets my attention is when somebody has written me a note. And if that note gets me intrigued about the person, that is when I accept. That too by a chance, when I just skim through it, right? So start with a good note. The moment the acceptance happens, make sure you drop a follow-up of thank you, because even if you send a note, you might be like, why didn't the person reply to my note?
Right.
Probably because the person never got a notification of that note. That doesn't go in as a message. It's a note. He can only see it in preview. Or if he opens inbox, there will be a note, but it doesn't send you a notification. So it's always important for you to kind of drop a follow-up. And I think the real money is always in the follow-up, right? Till someone says, stop following up with me, there's nothing wrong with you following up.
I love it. Absolutely.
Right? This is what I do. In fact, sometimes I also like, in my old sequence, and today also, right, we do a lot of prospecting because we're reaching out to a lot of international mentors to create programs with, right? So we kind of reach out to around 1,000 people a day today, right?
Nice.
On multiple platforms. And we usually add an email sequence message towards after a couple of follow-ups saying that, hey, if you're not interested, we get it. Just reply us with a NO. It will not bother you anymore. Right? A few people just replies with a no, which is great. That's a closure. And a few people also feel guilty to kind of reply.
No, this is not what I meant. I was meaning to reply to you. I was just busy and happy to accept.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can always use tricks. The reason why I'm afraid to say these things is people will just start copying yourself. Right? So think about
Sure.
how to get a reply.
Of
right?
course.
Try to add some value. Don't sell. That's one big problem that people do. You send an invitation, the person accepts, and bang, big blob of text of all the amazing services that you provide. Nobody gives a shit about what you provide, right? You have to create that, like you have to have a conversation with the person to even understand if he needs the service, right? So yeah, that's the way to go.
Got it. We have a question from Mr. Prabhakar, who says, if I'm starting off on LinkedIn and I'm trying to create my own personal brand, should I start writing blogs? Should I start doing videos? A little bit of everything? How do I get started?
The easiest way to get started is writing once a week content, which is the lowest friction point, right? Videos you have to shoot, blog it's very long form. For LinkedIn, written post 7 to 8 lines of text is more than enough to get started. That's exactly why I keep saying people, LinkedIn is the easiest platform to create content on. Right? On Instagram, you have to create some design creatives and all that. For YouTube and everywhere else, the minimum that you have to do is shoot a video. You have to put a face to it. But with LinkedIn, whatever you have as a thought, just put 5 lines together and post it. Right? That's it. That's all you have to do. Funnily enough, even today, LinkedIn mein written content works better than any other format of content. Right? So that's all you have to start doing with 1 post a week, move it to 2 posts a week, 3 posts a week, whatever you're comfortable with, right? Get to that number, but just be consistent. And every piece of content that is going out has to be the best quality of content. And the quality of content is not decided by you. The quality of content is decided by the amount of engagement you're getting.
Nice.
Right? So what I was saying is, actually lost the line of thought. Sorry.
No, that's all right. So totally understood. So even now, today in 2022, as in June, you're saying that's one place where you don't need to go through all the editing and all the fancy hassles of what happens. Just put in post.
Yeah.
Awesome. Shayantini has a question. She says, can we replicate what we're posting on other channels on LinkedIn as well, or does it?
You just have to repurpose it. Let's say you're putting a carousel on Instagram, right? You can repurpose the same content onto LinkedIn as a long written post rather than a carousel, right? You're putting a Twitter thread that goes in on LinkedIn directly, right? You're doing a reel. The transcription of that can go into post with the reel in itself, right? Like whatever works for you. So absolutely you can. I think content repurposing is something that everybody should do. Obviously, right? You start with a piece of content, start with the social media that you're native to, right? So I'm native to LinkedIn. So I always start with writing a post for LinkedIn, which gets repurposed to Twitter thread, which gets repurposed to carousel sometimes, and things like that. But you could be native to something else. Start there and repurpose it. Absolutely fine. See, one thing that you have to understand is in every social media, there are people. Same people you'll find everywhere. So I've seen this over and over again, right? In fact, I repurpose my single line tweets also onto LinkedIn now.
Right.
Because if something works, that will work in every social network.
Got it.
You just have to get the format right.
Understood. That makes sense. We have a question from Beena Rajput who says that, normally people go for e-commerce fashion brand owners like myself. People normally go to Instagram and other places. Can LinkedIn help an e-commerce person as well? And if you have any ideas to share?
Frankly, no. Because it totally depends on again, like I said, right, the ticket size. When you're trying to do things organically, you really need to, how do I put it? You need to get to scale, usually on e-commerce, right? You need to do 1,000 orders, 100 orders, 200 orders, 1,000 orders a month. But on LinkedIn, organically, that's very hard to do. You might, if you do a lot of hustle and tussle, you get 5-6 orders. But where LinkedIn kind of outshines is when the product that you're trying to sell is like 25,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees. Then it makes sense to get you 10 orders in a month, because that's a sizable bunch to get from, right? So yeah, I mean, that is what will make more sense than this.
Got it. unless if I'm looking but if I'm looking like for a distributor or a partner overseas, which completely changes the game.
That is not e-com anymore, right? That's basically you are trying to do
Business development.
e-com. It's completely different. So that's a different
Got
line
it.
of doing things.
So you won't find your direct B2C client, but if there's a B2B relationship you're wanting to make.
I'm not saying you won't find. For example, even today, Growth School generates about 50% of organic sales from LinkedIn, right? That is not the point, right? Like scale is the problem.
Vaibhav, do you find a lot of cross-pollination? Like when you say 15% comes from here, 20 comes from here, do you eventually look at the whole mix and say, I've spent 50 lakh rupees on 10 platforms and this person went from here, but he then saw me again on Twitter and then finally he saw my Facebook ad and then he converted from there.
Yeah, so attribution, right? So we currently follow last touch, right? Last touch attribution is no matter where the person saw, where did he eventually buy from? That is where it's attributed to. Usually we have seen last touch being very powerful on Facebook, right? Because people don't have a tendency to buy things off LinkedIn or off YouTube, but they have a tendency to discover things on different platforms. But eventually most of the attribution ends up happening on Facebook going forward. So we do look at touch points of where it's happening, but usually the last touch eventually ends up at Facebook and Instagram. But the kind of products that we sell on different social networks is also very different. So we do something, these days we do something called as intensive programs, which is priced at 25, 30, 35,000. These are rock stars teaching you stuff, right? Like it's a head of Dunzo brand teaching you brand marketing, head of growth strategy of Facebook teaching you management consulting. Like these are like absolute rock stars, right? They're teaching you. So it's very application driven. When we are trying to do application driven, we know we can only take 50 people for that program, and we want to pick the best 50. So for these products, we usually run ads only on LinkedIn, majorly, because I can clearly narrow down on the kind of TG, because I don't want to get 10,000 leads, right? I want to get only 200, 300 high quality people, out of which I will select the 50 that will get into the program.
Interesting. So essentially, are you saying that if you have a high ticket program and the difference between your lead cost and your eventual selling cost is considerable, LinkedIn is going to help you. You know, if you're selling apartments, you're selling watches, you're selling high ticket stuff, LinkedIn is a no-brainer.
It's interesting. I've never seen an ad on watches on LinkedIn. But if you think about, if you are someone who's trying to sell a Rolex or a Bertling or a Rado, or let's say a lakh rupee watch, I can't think of a better social network than that of LinkedIn, because that people less than a director level cannot afford the watch. People with less than 15 years of experience in the career cannot afford the watch because they don't make 50 lakhs a year to afford a 3.5 lakh rupee watch. Right? So that way it makes a lot of sense to kind of become a discovery layer as well on LinkedIn.
Got it. So we have a guest, a question from Padma. Padma, if you're here, you can come and ask the question yourself. But Parth has given you access to switch on your video. And till we get Padma, I had a question. When it comes to Vaibhav, when it comes to growing a company, now you're growing a company and you're saying you're growing it on multiple levels, on LinkedIn separately and different platforms separately, and teams are growing and all of that. So how important in your experience so far has speed been over getting it right? Is there something called getting it right with speed? I mean, what's your experience? Or you keep breaking things faster and building it up as fast?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why I raised funding, right, was to have this option of experimenting. I think the biggest disadvantage of a bootstrap business is the appetite to experiment at scale, right? When I was running Growth School as a bootstrap business for about 1 year before I raised the 40 crores that I did, right? I was always like one experiment at a time. ये चलाते हैं, इसका कैप यही है, समझ में नहीं आ रहा है तो 2 लाख खर्चा हो गया, बंद करो, move on to go back to doing what you want. Right now, this venture fund has allowed us, like literally, I have an experiment team. It's a team of 4 people, rock stars who are like product manager and growth strategists, and one performance marketer, focusing on experiment, statistical relevance of that experiment, getting the data points, testing it with enough angles, right? Not giving up before we should give up, being okay. So today we are okay to lose that 1 CR because that's exactly what we raised. But that loss of 1 CR will get us 100 CRs tomorrow. So that is the biggest advantage that you get as a venture funded company. But it also comes with disadvantages, right? Like the moment you like flip around and start focusing on wrong things, like growth over revenue and profitability, you get tossed up as a business, right? But like in my way of going about it, because I'm a bootstrap business owner at heart, right? We are still a CM1 and a CM2 positive business, which not many well-funded companies are today in the country and the world. So
Nice to know that. Padma, you here? Yeah, go for it.
Can't hear you, Padma.
Yeah, hi.
Padma can't hear you.
I was actually waiting for this session, to be very frank. For me, LinkedIn is the only social media. I still say that. So I am into recruitment services.
Okay.
We offer recruitment services to oil and gas, construction and manufacturing companies across globe.
Okay.
So two things I wanted to ask is the way in B2B, like will LinkedIn work for B2B ads, like targeting HR people of the corporates, big corporates? Will that work? I mean, if I want to run an ad for entire oil and gas industry,
you can.
Head of talent acquisitions.
You can.
Okay. And similarly, will the ads for candidates, if we have multiple position, maybe 50 position in similar oil and gas, and I want to make an ad, and then will that be B2C also? Will that work?
But for that you have LinkedIn jobs, right? Where you can actually spend money to show to more people.
Yeah, LinkedIn jobs, but then those are very, very costly.
Then these ads are much more expensive than LinkedIn ads.
Oh,
LinkedIn
is it?
jobs,
Okay,
yeah.
because LinkedIn ads I have not checked at all, but these are like,
it's quite expensive. Like the CPMs, like I said, 4 or 5 times of that. Usually on Facebook and LinkedIn it's 200, while Facebook and Instagram is 200, while LinkedIn is like 600, 800, 1,000 rupees sometimes to show it to 1,000 people. And as you go more narrower, right? If you think about HRs in this specific industry, there'll be like what, 5,000 of them, 10,000 of them, the total number of audience in that bracket. So it just get more expensive to show them the ads, right? The narrower the audience gets, the more expensive it kind of becomes.
Okay. And second question is there any outreach tool available for LinkedIn? Any automation? Because here what does is we always put a note why we intend to connect with you, okay, while sending but it is like now since the business is scaling up, it's like tedious task to send it one by one. So is there any automation?
So there are a bunch of tools that does the job. One of the tools that we teach is Phantom Buster, right? But with automation, something extremely important that you need to know is if you don't get it right, you will lose your account forever.
We actually just checked last week. We tried to check from LinkedIn that is there any outreach tool available. Our account was blocked. I was like, okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean it's quite finicky like that. LinkedIn has been very strict about it. Also because there have been a couple of data leaks that has happened in the past because of scraping and all. But yeah, I think if you're doing automation, you have to do it right, or else you'll get screwed. Like it is what it is.
Okay. Can you repeat the name of the automation tool once again?
Phantom Buster.
Phantom Buster.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Padma.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so guys, Vaibhav has to leave. Vaibhav, last question for everyone. Just a last things are changing in the e-commerce space, in the digital marketing space, in showing ads, getting people conversion. When COVID happens, people are home. Your webinars start doing well. And then, so what is your one message or one learning? I know it's difficult to wrap it up into a thing, but people see ups and downs and give up. Like, oh, my webinar did very well. I made 5 lakh rupees, or this webinar didn't do well at all. So I don't have the money. I go back to a job or give up very easily. What is your message? How do you see the future of all of this? Getting people online, education, and all of this?
I think there are a couple of things, right? One is persistence, right? The reason why there are very few people who are able to do it is because of the fact that if it was so easy, everybody would have done it, right? It comes back to the fact that how persistent are you? If you can only sustain during a green time, and the moment the red time jumps off, you will fail at any business that you start.
Sure.
Right? It is fundamental. Like Avi, you must have seen this 500 times already, right? Because you've been building businesses much longer than I have. Like I've been speaking probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is there. That is one. Yeah, I think in the field of education, right? I think one of the most fundamentally important part that I think lacks all over the world, not just in the country, is the fact that nobody's going to ask you if you're good enough to teach, but you should know if you are good enough to teach, right? The reason why we came out to do things that we want to, like it could be you, it could be me, like a lot of people that I admire, right, is because they know their shit. That's why they're teaching. And when you know your shit and you're teaching, people get results. And when people get results, ads might not work, something else will work, and it'll keep the cycle going.
Right.
There must be something, Avi, that you're doing right, because of which you've been managed to like run post-pandemic while 90% of the people have just died.
Sure.
There is something that I'm doing right while my LinkedIn workshop still runs today at the same scale that used to run at pandemic. And
100%.
5,000 more people join different workshops every month, right? That is basically you being true to the art and the skill that you're teaching. If you are in this game to make money, you will lose, period. If you're in the field of education, which is giving, right, you will win. If you're giving, you'll win. If you're here for greedy reasons, you'll lose. And that's what education is, and that's what it's always been.
Right. Perfect. Love that. With that, guys, can we give a big internet mogul thank you to Vaibhav?